morning. When Rob talked about this being a stool, that's a little bit wrong. This is more of a footrest, something you would put under your desk while you're working at your desk to rest your feet on. My son-in-law was moved from a very active job to having to do some work on it at the desk. He asked me to do it. He was born with spina bifida, so his legs are very short, and it's very hard and very uncomfortable for him to sit at a desk for any length of time. So with this, it really helped him out a lot. He was able to sit comfortably for more than just a few minutes. So this is a material, basically, this is a very flexible design. I put up these dimensions as that's kind of a central point. What I'm actually doing is, the wood I've got is actually about a 7 1/8 inch wide. I wouldn't go any smaller than about 7 inches on this. It gets too unstable. But this is a good size because this would be a 1x8, nominal lumber. You need two pieces that are 13 inches, one that's 18 inches, and the kitchen needs to be the same, regardless of what it is. It could be 7 1/4, 7 3/4, but these two need to be the same size. And on this piece is only a 1, and it needs to be at least an inch longer than this piece. So it's more the relationships here that are important than the actual physical dimensions. This piece is for the template. If you want to make more than one, and I would suggest you do that, make that template, because you're going to make more than one. I've already made 3 for my family. So having the template is good, and you can kind of do that as part of the first step. So here are my two pieces. I say it's about a 7 1/8 by 13. This is about 18 inches, and the other piece. So get started with this. Take the two 13-inch pieces with some double-sided tape. And I typically use just 2 pieces of this. If you didn't write, this is the best way to get the backing off of it. If you haven't seen it, something I learned here. Line this up real well. Do it once more. This is a piece of template, and what I've done besides time I've marked it all up. This piece is about 3 1/2 inches by 3/4. This is kind of designed to go back against the wall, so this would go around the floor molding. Okay, is what this is for, is to go around the floor molding. This arc is pretty much just a freehand arc, just to give it some design. Is all that is. It can be pretty much anything you want. Oh, this way. You want to see it too, Fuzz?
Yes, yes.
Okay. The other thing I did is I marked a line 2 inches from the bottom, and then marked 2 inches in from each side. I also marked from these points down 2 inches, and I'll show you what those are for in a minute. So that's just all the pre-measurements to get ahead of time to save a little time. And again, put this on. Get that done. knuckles go here, and leave it on. That's not right. Let's see. Take that off. So I had marked it here and here. What that do is you just bring this down to those marks. Put in another line. Now, what this is for is I'm going to need to drill 4 holes, and I want them 2 inches from the top in each case. So this is my 2-inch line. I use the scrap from the template to make the template. Okay. For the drill press, I've set up a fence that's 2 inches from the bit. From the center of the bit, so that's already been done. Okay. And I want all of these to be kind of the same spot. I use a 5/16 inch bit. I want it just a little bit larger than a 1/4 inch, because what I'm going to do is put a slot through here, and it's going to be a 1/4 inch bolt that goes through that slot. So I want it to be a little bit bigger. Piece I always forget to do is cut out this slot, so I need to do that now as well. Okay. Now you have your template. So if you want to make more, it's all set to go. Okay. So what I do on this, I got a 1/4 inch straight bit in here. So I put it on. Move the fence so it just touches, the board flat against the fence. The bit just touches the edge of the hole, and fasten everything down. Should lift off easily. You don't want to push too hard on there. You could jam it up. And then just drop this out. Whoops. Don't do what I just almost did. Have a piece on the bit before you start the motor. Don't try to put it on while it's running. And with one like this, where you've got the hole, I can actually turn it into the hole, so I don't have any pressure on the wood as I start the cut. Where is it? There it goes. That's actually the next thing. I mean, you're leaving, because what I do is I put it on again, and I do all four of them, all four slots this way. Then you loosen up the fence and move it in so you're just off the opposite side of the hole. Because that's why, remember I had a 5/16 bit that made the hole, so I've got about 1/8 of an inch. This should be 1/8 of an inch wider than the 1/4 inch. So get that side set up. In there. And what you have is this T-bar that you get right out here. I think it's $12.99, the T-bar, and it includes one nut. You buy 3 more of these nuts for about $1.50 each. So you got 4 of them. And you see, now this will fit through that slot very nicely. And runs easy. What you do is you take, cut the 2 ends off. What I do is set up here a little bit. Try to center. I get 2 holes on here, and I try to center those on here. And so I may have to cut a little bit off of each end, and then fasten those to the end. You get something that looks very much like this. Okay, you've rounded, also you've rounded over these edges, and that's very important. If your foot sets on that sharp corner, that's not very comfortable. So make sure you round that over. Okay. And the instructions for the T-bar call for a number 4 screw. I use a number 6 screw, which is a little too big, but it gives. I do it partially for strength, and partially to capture these things. They don't come past that nut. So when I use a number 6 flathead screw, these are countersunk. So this is enough, and as long as this goes outside where the grooves are, that's fine. It doesn't need to come off, and that's why everything kind of stays together. The other thing I do is when I set these up, I put a 1/4 inch washer on here as well, so which will go on the outside. Once you've cut all 4 pieces, you get something like this. This will go together in this fashion. Okay. I just did a round over on this, but you could do an OG corner or any kind of a decorative finish. I only did the inside. You could do round over both inside and outside, but so there's a lot of design options. At this stage, you could even finish the wood. I mean, before you put the T-bar on, you could pre-finish all of this stuff so that you have it done. The support piece, that needs to be 1/8 of an inch longer than the footrest and the T-bar combined. So you want just a little bit of room so that the thing slides, but not so much that when you tighten it down, it puts too much pressure on the support screws at the bottom. So I cut this to 1/8 of an inch longer than that. That seems to work pretty good. Okay. So any questions up to this point?
Hey, Walt, I do have a quick question. The T-bar you used, did you just use a hacksaw to cut that, or did you
Yes.
cut it on a?
I've tried several different methods. I tried cutting it on the scroll saws, tried cutting it with a cutoff bit on a Dremel. The hacksaw is the easiest to do for this stuff. It really is. It's just, as long as you got a good sharp blade and so forth. And clamp it in a vise or something like that, so it's held real good. And it only takes you a minute or two to cut through this stuff. I mean, it's aluminum. So it's,
I'm here to tell you, you don't use a saw stop to cut that.
How do you know? How do you know? There are two of us who testify.
How about if you did the release thing, does that work on the saw stop where they say you can disengage that brake?
You can disengage it, yeah.
Does that actually work?
Okay.
You still don't want to be cutting.
You just need to do that ahead of time.
Actually, for cutting those aluminum bars like that, a chop saw with carbide blades works pretty well.
yeah, but they say the hacksaw only takes a minute or two. It's not, doesn't take very long to do it.
Clean up the ends after you saw it, well, hacksaw sometimes leaves a.
Yeah, yep, good point, Jerry. Yeah, I did take a little file and clean up the ends, because they'll leave some sharp points and some burrs on there, so yeah, definitely clean that up, thank you. Okay, then what I do is I assemble it to this point, without the support bar. And I do this upside down. I've pre-done these up, it should be this way. You see it's just a little bit too long there. Let's release one of these, I can get it in there.
Stand it up on the end here.
Oh, okay. I said I can't see what I'm doing, but that's, with my eyesight, that's pretty normal.
You could wait and
You know, then,
let
you know, actually what I did was I assembled it to this point, drilled the pilot holes and countersunk stuff before I started. And actually pre-assembled it so these go in pretty easily.
board twisted.
Thank you.
As long as I use the screwdriver that much. When he's got the power of the driver, he got,
Sitting right in front of it.
no electricity.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Since you guys are complaining so much.
The guys that are complaining could do a class.
I don't like to go all the way down with this stuff, because particularly when I've got so close to the edge, I can sometimes, you'll sometimes split it. So I will use a hand. Do that last tighten. In fact, I did split this piece. Well, it's a pre-drill. The holes are going to go where they go. No, don't get too. Now you have an infinitely variable footrest.
Now I see the principle behind that thing. You can tilt it now too.
You can also tilt it at any angle, at any height that makes it available for you. The other next step you can do, take a piece of carpet, padding, and wrap it around and staple it down. What I use when I do that is I use a 5/8 inch crown molding staple. We don't have to go through that process. It's just a matter of putting it on and stapling it down. Any questions?
Hey, Walt,
Yes, sir.
I have a comment about driving those screws with a power screwdriver or a drill bit if you're using a softwood like cedar. You better not drive it all the way down, because not only would you crack the wood, you'd also bury that head below, well below the surface.
Well, that's, to be below the surface is okay on this, but you're right, I don't like to go all the way down. I don't go to just almost done and then hand tighten it to finish it, and for exactly that reason.
Well, I've actually had to throw away a piece before because I sold it, drove it too deep.
Yeah. Well, I actually ran into a problem with this one, because this lumber was actually edge glued pieces up. It's several pieces of scrap put together. And so after the hole happened to be right on one of those edges and seams, and it popped the seam. So yeah, I'd like to, and that was with the with the hand screw. Okay, any other questions?
Thank you.
Okay.